Is debt beating you down? You need discipline. You need the Debt Ninja. If you've been caught in a financial trap and need to be set free, then you need the Debt Ninja. Want to stop those harassing collection calls, start saving thousands in interest and fees, and get out of debt fast? Then you need to call the Debt Ninja. The Debt Ninja will find the best companies across the country that will help you consolidate all your bills into one easy payment, reduce your payments by 30 to 50%, and get you out of debt fast. If you have unsecured debt of $10,000 or more, such as credit cards, loans, or medical bills, call the Debt Ninja for a free 15-minute consultation.
Call 800-826-1246. 800-826-1246. That's 800-826-1246. Call today.
The Debt Ninja.
Individuals and businesses with tax problems, listen carefully. Do you feel like you're losing control over your finances? If you owe over $10,000 in back taxes or have unfiled tax returns, we can help you take back control. The IRS is the largest and most aggressive collection agency in the world, and they can seize your bank account, garnish your paycheck, close your business, and file criminal charges. Take control of your tax problems now by calling the experts at Tax Mediation Services and take advantage of the Fresh Start program and new laws that may allow us to negotiate a settlement for the lowest amount possible. Our team of tax attorneys and enrolled agents can stop collections and get you protected so you can take control of your financial future. Tax Mediation Services is accredited by the Better Business Bureau. Call now for a free case review and a price protection guaranteed quote.
Call Tax Mediation Services now at 800-610-9050. That's 800-610-9050. 800-610-9050.
All writers are prone to becoming so attached to our characters and stories that we struggle to see why a passage may not be working. It takes another set of eyes to help us nurture our writing to full maturity. At Black Wolf Editorial Services, we strive to enable writers to develop and grow, shaping stories into masterpieces that can stand the test of time. Editing services are provided for all genres and all age categories. Services range from critiques of the short story through to the line edits of the full-length novel and copy editing for those preparing for publication. We also offer assistance on generating a writer's bio for your websites, as well as help with those book blurbs and promotional material. We won't abandon you to the masses. We want to celebrate with you in your successes. Black Wolf Editorial Services, nurturing your writing into maturity. For a full list of services and prices, visit us at blackwolfeditorial.com.
This is Slickery Trigger for Rebel Road Tactical. With proper care and feeding, your pistol will be ready when you need it, there to save your life. Shouldn't your gear be that good? Whether you need a holster for comfortable everyday carry or a tough-as-nails holster for your next training course, Rebel Road Tactical has what you need. Check us out on the web at rebelroadtactical.com.
You're listening to the Spark Radio Network, internet radio like you've never heard before. Innovation, creativity, and imagination are all said to begin with a spark. So fasten your seatbelt and take the ride of your life and listen for the spark.
You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
My name is Jessie. I'm a United States Special Forces widow. This gives me a unique perspective on the world around us. If you're willing to listen, I'll tell you how I see it, and I won't pull any punches. This is my POV, which stands for Point of View. All right, how's everybody doing out there today? I am happy to be back with you, and for those of you that have listened already once today, yes, you are not going crazy. I was on the air earlier. Why? Well, the short reason is we lost a 3-hour show because the show host decided to stop doing his show, and we were then supporting 3 hours of music. Well, we started getting complaints about the music, so we said, show's gotta go. So occasionally I pop on during the daytime if it fits my schedule. I can't make a commitment to it. That's why my regular scheduled time is in the evenings. But I can occasionally make that commitment during the days. So when it fits my schedule, I do pop on air during daytime and visit with you guys, at least until we find a new show to take the place of the Rod Eccles Show. Yes, we've heard your complaints. I'm sorry. We could no longer carry a show that wasn't there. We weren't going to sit and broadcast 3 hours of religious music when we are not the religious radio station. KLRN is not a religious music station. Yes, we have a religious hour. By all means, enjoy. But the rest of the time, if you're tuning in anywhere else, you expect to hear people talking. So that's ultimately what the decision came down to. And we are in the process of working on trying to get a new show to replace that one. So we are in negotiations with a couple people, but if any of you out there within the sound of my voice are interested in having a show on KLRN, by all means, we can teach you how to produce if you don't already know. If you don't have a producer, now you got to have a computer. What else do you need to have? Time. Got to have patience. Got to have some technical ability, at least to follow instructions. Doing live is a little bit more challenging than doing pre-records, but it can be done, as I'm doing right now. Some days I will admit I'm a little more prepared than others. Anyway, so if you are hearing me and you would like to be on the air with KLRN Radio, please shoot an email to the station, one of the two station managers. And at KLRN Radio is currently in charge of scheduling, so by all means, drop her an email. She'd love to hear your idea for a show. All right, now that I've gotten station news and business out of the way, I don't normally get into U.S. politics. And if you're a regular listener to this show, you know, on very rare occasions have I ever used the word Trump, Obama, or Hillary. If you listen to a few of the early episodes, it's there once in a while. But then I decided that's what everybody else was doing. I didn't want to be everybody else. I wanted to be me. Covering politics isn't isn't my thing. God bless those who can stomach it. I can't. But then an issue came along I felt I had no choice to cover, and it is more political than I usually cover. This question of did we pay ransom to Iran to free our hostages? And I'm not talking back in 1979 when Reagan was president, because I can darn well tell you there was no plane filled with cash that they were waiting for then. I've checked that one out. No. That was, by all intents and purposes, Iran knew that new president, Ronald Reagan, wasn't going to put up with their crap. And he was going to figure out a way to crack heads. He didn't take a lot of crap, from what I can understand. And I am a student of history. It's almost a requirement for the show I do. But anyway, so I'm talking about this past January when Syed Abedini was released. We put 40 million, and yes, I said million with an M, dollars in various currencies on a, quote, unmarked plane, and sent it to Iran. Now, if you want to believe the Commander-in-Chief, we did this to settle an old debt. Now, do I really need to tell you what I think of this? Settle an old debt. Then why did it resemble a spy movie? And why were people like Syed Abedini told, you can't go until we're waiting for a plane to land? And if the plane doesn't land, you're not going home? Don't believe me? Hear him in his own words.
Be here.
Thank you for having me here.
Describe to me how that release process went. Take us back to that fateful night when you were set free.
Okay. First of all, I'm so thankful for my freedom and my, nothing is being like free and life of being free. So, but I just remember the night that we've been in an airport, just take hours and hours there. And I asked one of the intelligent police head that was with us that why you are not letting us to go to the Switzerland plane. And he told me we are waiting for another plane, and if that plane take off, then we're going to let you go.
So did they actually take you out of the prison that you were in? And I want to get to the conditions that you had to live through in just a moment, but they took you out of your prison and brought you to an airport?
Yeah, we were at the airport for a night, and, they told us...
you slept there at the airport?
Minutes. Yes, for a night. And, they told us, you're going to be there for 20 minutes, but it took like hours and hours. We slept at the airport, and when I asked them why you don't let us go, because the plane was there, pilot was there, everyone was ready that we leave the country, they said we are waiting for another plane, and until that plane doesn't come, we never let you go.
So eventually another plane came, and did they then put you on that plane, or were they just waiting for that plane? And, I think you know where I'm going with this. Or were they effectively waiting for the money to come in before they then let you take off?
Yeah, they didn't talk about money. They just told us told me about the plane. And, the plane of Prime Minister of Switzerland was already in Iran, which, we came back with that plane, actually. So the reason that they said you're here in the airport was just because we are waiting for another plane.
Okay, so what happened? Did the other plane eventually land, or did it land at another airport somewhere else?
After that, they never told anything to me, and I didn't see anything,
So do you have any idea how many hours you actually waited for this other plane to land?
For a night, we went to the airport, I think it was like 2, 3 p.m., and we waited there for a whole night, and we, fly, I think, the day after at 10 in the morning.
All right, so there you have Syed Abedini, in his own words, telling you what happened the night of his release. Now, if Iran is saying that we paid ransom, I don't want to believe it, but I'm sorry. Our current commander-in-chief is no Ronald Reagan. He's proven that multiple times over. Our current commander-in-chief, if you're a regular listener to the show, you know what I'm about to say next. He isn't a commander-in-chief. He is a turkey-in-chief. Yes, I just insulted the President of the United States. Now, I'm not saying the office of the President is a problem. I'm saying the current occupant is the problem. Okay? Let's be clear here. So, and there are multiple reasons I do this show under an assumed name. One of them is, God forbid, my husband's chain of command catches on and starts yelling at him for stuff like that. Well, no offense. My husband doesn't control me. Never has, and he damn well knows he won't be able to control me. Do we discuss things? Of course. Doesn't every married couple? Can he tell me what to say, what to do, where to go, where not to go? No. Now, let's get back to the ransom. I've got a couple more clips for you.
Can you just respond to two specific pieces, though? One is, was this money ransom for the folks that were released?
No, it was not. It is against the policy of the United States to pay ransom for hostages.
So it's just a coincidence.
Well, Mike, here's this again. We talked about this in January too. So let's talk about this. There was a conscious, strategic decision that was made on the part of the Obama administration as we were implementing the deal to prevent Iran from obtaining a nuclear weapon, to resolve other longstanding concerns that we had with Iran. And that included securing the release of 5 American citizens who'd been unjustly detained in Iran, and closing out a longstanding financial dispute in a way that saved the American people potentially billions of dollars. So this all came to a head at the same time because we are addressing and resolving longstanding concerns with Iranian behavior. And the benefits are almost too long to mention, but the highlights are Iran is not developing a nuclear weapon. Iran had to scale back significant aspects of their nuclear program. Iran released 5 Americans who were unjustly detained on Iranian soil. And we resolved a 35-year-old financial claim with the Iranians in a way that saved Americans potentially billions of dollars. There are many other benefits we can get into as well, but those are the highlights.
One other thing that I'll let in.
All right, so that was from the White House press briefing yesterday. Now, I have a clip from President Obama. I'm going to play it through once, then I'm going to start it again, and we're going to listen to different sections of it and take his points one at a time.
We announced these payments in January, many months ago. There wasn't a secret. We announced them to all of you. Josh did a briefing on them. This wasn't some nefarious deal. And at the time, we explained that Iran had pressed a claim before an international tribunal about them recovering money of theirs that we had frozen, that as a consequence of its working its way through the international tribunal, it was the assessment of our lawyers that we were now at a point where there was significant litigation risk and we could end up costing ourselves billions of dollars. It was their advice and suggestion that we settle. And that's what these payments represent. And it wasn't a secret. We were completely open with everybody about it, and it's interesting to me how suddenly this became a story again. That's point number one. Point number two, we do not pay ransom for hostages. We've got a number of Americans being held all around the world. And I meet with their families, and it is heartbreaking. And we have stood up an entire section of interagency experts who devote all their time to working with these families to get these Americans out. But those families know that we have a policy that we don't pay ransom. And the notion that we would somehow start now in this high-profile way and announce it to the world, even as we're looking into the faces of other hostage families whose loved ones are being held hostage, and say to them that we don't pay ransom, defies logic. So that's point number two. We do not pay ransom. We didn't here, and we won't in the future. Precisely because if we did, then we would start encouraging Americans to be targeted, much in the same way that some countries that do pay ransom end up having a lot more of their citizens being taken by various groups.
All right, now, I've decided I'm not going to replay it. The audio quality on that clip just isn't where I'd like it to be. It was the only clip I could find, or I would have picked a better clip. All right, so let's break it down. I believe it was President Reagan who first reiterated we don't negotiate with terrorists. He was at least among the first. It is a famous line. We did. Obama negotiated with terrorists, as far as I'm concerned. Obama broke the long-standing tradition of U.S. non-negotiation. I also feel that Obama has broken long-standing U.S. policy of we don't pay ransom. I don't know about you. I'm a Special Forces widow. Coincidence isn't in my vocabulary, unless it's involving the weather. I'm sorry, I just don't believe in coincidences. And sometimes even the weather isn't a coincidence. And no, I'm not trying to say there's some nefarious force out there controlling the weather. I do not wear a tinfoil hat. Don't lump me in with the tinfoil hat crowd, please. I'm sure there's some wonderful people in the tinfoil hat crowd, but I'm not among them. Alright. Now, I believe Obama himself went back on the paying ransom, because I think it was a dual ransom. It was money to Iran. Yes, we froze their assets in 1979 when they took a number of Americans hostage and held them for over a year. Yeah, President Carter, and I must say this, give credit where credit is due, did attempt to launch a rescue attempt. However, that rescue attempt failed. And it is the reason we have much of the special forces we have today. Desert One was a failure. And as much as I don't like to see our men and women in uniform fail, on that night they were not successful. Why? They didn't train like they do now. The different branches of service didn't work together back then. So, in my mind, that's why the mission failed. And that's not just my opinion. So, that is actually documented fact. That mission was the birth of JSOC, Joint Special Operations Command. And that date was April 24th, 1980. It was 52 Americans that were held American hostages in Tehran, ended with 8 U.S. servicemen dead and no hostages rescued. So, it began on November 4th, 1979. And we got JSOC out of it because, it was Operation Eagle Claw. I apologize. Operation Eagle Claw it was an ambitious plan to rescue the hostages. And instead it was a failure. So, no one can fault the operation for not being complex enough. Under the cover of darkness, 8 Navy helicopters were to fly from the USS Nimitz, based in the Arabian Sea, to Desert One, a secret staging area. I was half right. In central Iran, picked by the CIA, where they were to meet up with U.S. Delta forces aboard 3 C-130 transport planes flying in from Oman. Another 3 C-130 transport planes carrying 18,000 gallons of fuel for the helicopters were also supposed to land at Desert 1. 8 naval helicopters would then refuel and fly Delta forces to Desert 2, another spot about 50 miles south of Tehran, where they would conceal the helicopters and hide out during the day. On the second night, Delta forces would have boarded 6 trucks driven by Iranian CIA operatives into downtown Tehran, storm the U.S. Embassy, free the hostages, and transport everyone to a nearby soccer field, where they would then be picked up by Navy helicopters flying in from Desert 2. The Navy helicopters would then fly the freed hostages and Delta forces to Mansouriya Airfield, about 60 miles southwest of Tehran, which was supposed to be secured by the interim U.S. Army Rangers arriving aboard C-141s. Everyone would then board a C-141 for final extraction to Egypt. The helicopters would be abandoned and destroyed. Well, didn't quite go to plan. Mr. Murphy got in the middle of it. There was a dust storm, and it forced one of the 8 Navy helicopters to turn back, and another crash landed after being disabled. The other 6 helicopters landed at Desert 1, but another was lost to hydraulic problems. With just 5 helicopters operational, the commander on the scene decided to abort the mission. But that's when the real trouble started. As the U.S. aircraft prepared to evacuate, one of the helicopters crashed into a C-130 carrying fuel and troops, destroying both aircraft and killing 8 U.S. personnel. In the ensuing panic, all other helicopters were abandoned but not destroyed, so the Iranians actually came out ahead by several helicopters, some of which are still in service in the Iranian Navy. Operation Eagle Claw was a total debacle, which embarrassed America in front of the entire world and probably contributed to Jimmy Carter's defeat in the 1980 election. Coming less than a decade after America's defeat in Vietnam, it seemed to confirm a widely held view that America was, in Richard Nixon's famous phrase, a pitiful giant burdened with an incompetent military. In fact, it would be fairer to say that Eagle Claw suffered from overly ambitious planning, the wrong hardware, and an absence of a red team to point out flaws and vulnerabilities during the planning process. But it wasn't all bad news. Operation Eagle Claw helped spur military reforms that had already begun under the Carter administration and gathered speed under Reagan. And this led to a lot of the smart weapons, stealth technology, and other advances that would be showcased in the devastating U.S. war against Iraq in 1991. So, like I said, Carter tried. And for that, I must give him credit. He did what no one else dared. Alright, we are at the bottom of the hour. Let's see if host Kitty and I can hit the right button. We're going to be back after a brief commercial break.
You can lay down if you wanna. You can run away if you wanna. You can pretend that this is totally okay if you wanna. You can play dead if you wanna. Forget what they say if you wanna. Turn your back on the country needing you right now. But I don't wanna.
This is Slickery Trigger for Rebel Road Tactical. With proper care and feeding, your pistol will be ready when you need it. There to save your life. Shouldn't your gear be that good? Whether you need a holster for comfortable everyday carry or a tough-as-nails holster for your next training course, Rebel Road Tactical has what you need. Check us out on the web at rebelroadtactical.com.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 1-800-516-7602 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 1-800-516-7602 to take your call right now. Call 1-800-516-7602. That's 1-800-516-7602. Again, 1-800-516-7602.
All writers are prone to becoming so attached to our characters and stories that we struggle to see why a passage may not be working. It takes another set of eyes to help us nurture our writing to full maturity. At Black Wolf Editorial Services, we strive to enable writers to develop and grow, shaping stories into masterpieces that can stand the test of time. Editing services are provided for all genres and all age categories. Services range from critiques of the short story through to the line edits of the full-length novel and copy editing for those preparing for publication. We also offer assistance on generating a writer's bio for your websites, as well as help with those book blurbs and promotional material. We won't abandon you to the masses. We want to celebrate with you in your successes. Black Wolf Editorial Services, nurturing your writing into maturity. For a full list of services and prices, visit us at blackwolfeditorial.com.
If you want to work until you keel over, have less of everything in retirement, or give back more of your hard-earned money to the stock market again, then just ignore me. But if you'd like to protect the money you save, receive a steady, predictable retirement income, and enjoy financial security for as long as you live, then listen to this. You can download a free report that reveals the wealth-building secrets Wall Street and the banks don't want you to know. You'll learn how you can get guaranteed growth, safety, and real prosperity without risking your money in the Wall Street casino, and how to get the money you need when you need it, simply by asking for it. This is the best way to have a 100% secure retirement and know your money will last as long as you do. To learn more about this method and to get your free report, go to 29security.com. That's the number 29security.com. 29security.com. Go to 29security.com.
All right. I am back here with you. I just found an article. As you know, I am online the entire time while I am doing this show. And I was looking up some information on something unrelated and tripped over an article. I very much wanted to share the audio from with you guys. So give me just a minute. Let me see if I can get that queued up without too much chaos here. I am doing this one on the fly. All right. This is from CNN. Give me just a moment. I think we've got it all marked and ready to go.
In Ohio, battleground state where we're covering the presidential contest. But let's turn to our world lead today. Continued outrage and controversy over that $400 million cash transfer to Iran by the Obama administration on the same day 4 American prisoners were released by Iran. The White House denies that the money was a ransom payment. Footage aired on Iranian television, however, purports to show the money arriving in Tehran, and that is raising renewed questions about whether this was a quid pro quo. CNN chief national security correspondent Jim Sciutto has been digging into the mystery. Jim, you're learning new details about how the cash was delivered?
That's right, Jake. A senior State Department official tells me that it was not a U.S. plane that delivered that cash, but these officials, the president himself, acknowledged that cash was sent, and we are now seeing what Iranian state television says what all that money in cash looked like.
A pallet loaded with what Iranian state television claims is cash sent by the U.S., the narrator says, to pay back Iran's money after 35 years. This video, which CNN cannot authenticate, aired in Iran just days after the release of 4 American prisoners. At the Pentagon Thursday, President Obama dismissed any connection between the cash payment, which he acknowledged, and the prisoners' release, saying that negotiations were entirely separate.
We announced these payments in January. This wasn't some nefarious deal. And at the time, we explained that Iran had pressed a claim before an international tribunal about them recovering money of theirs that we had frozen.
Until today, Donald Trump repeatedly claimed to have seen what he called secret video of cash being unloaded in Iran just as those American prisoners were freed.
The tape was made, right? You saw that with the airplane coming in, nice plane, and the airplane coming in and the money coming off, I guess, right? That was given to us, has to be, by the Iranians. And you know why the tape was given to us? Because they want to embarrass our country.
But this morning, Mr. Trump withdrew that claim, tweeting this reversal. Quote, "The plane I saw on television was the hostage plane in Geneva, Switzerland, not the plane carrying $400 million in cash going to Iran." Trump apparently referring to this entirely different video, showing the plane that had carried the freed Americans. However, the timing of the two transactions, U.S. prisoners going out, hundreds of millions of dollars going in, still raises the question of whether the Americans' release was conditional on the payment of money. Saeed Abedini, one of the freed American prisoners, told Fox News that he and his fellow Americans waited at the airport in Iran for hours the night of their release. And when he asked an Iranian intelligence officer why,
he told me, we are waiting for another plane, and if that plane take off, then we're going to let you go.
CNN asked a U.S. State Department official whether Iran would have freed the prisoners without that payment. This official told CNN it is, quote, unknowable.
Now, to be clear, this new video of what appears to be this money, Jake, is not the same video that Donald Trump claimed to have seen. He now claims to have seen no video of that money, just the video of the prisoners going free. Jake?
Also curious. Jim Sciutto, thank you so much.
All right.
Guess what I just did?
All right. So there is a video of cash in Iran that came off a plane we sent. I am going to be searching Press TV's archives over the next few days. Press TV, for those of you that are unaware, is an online English-speaking Iranian news outlet. If it is there, I will find it. I will also reach out to a few other sources I have that I'm not going to discuss on air. Now, I feel, like I said, coincidences aren't something I believe in. And I'm sorry, President Obama, you broke U.S. long-standing tradition. We don't pay ransom. And yes, President Obama, I feel you did. Not that you guys know I rarely delve into politics. But this was an issue that was just too near and dear to my heart. One moment, I'm trying to pull something up here. So I do apologize. I'm doing this on the fly. Alright, do I have... checking my audio settings here. Alright. But I'm sorry. President Obama violated long-standing U.S. policy. And he, in my mind, paid ransom. And I don't know how to say it any clearer. I really don't. Alright. There is more going on in the world than the story of the president of our country paying ransom. So, let's take something we haven't gotten to in a number of times. Let's take a trip through my mailbox. I know, we haven't been in my mailbox lately. Although my mailbox has changed. It's now Jessie's POV at KLRNRadio. Alright, Israel has charged the Palestinian manager of the Gaza branch of World Vision, a major Christian aid organization, was charged by Israeli prosecutors Thursday with infiltrating the charity on behalf of Hamas and funneling about $43 million into the group's funds over the past 6 years. Alright, let's see. What else is in my mailbox? Turkey has issued a warrant for Fatah Gulen, the Muslim cleric who lives in the Poconos in Pennsylvania, was accused of orchestrating the failed coup attempt. Now, whether they've gotten their formal extradition papers, I'm skimming the article to see if it's here. So, by the way, Turkey has detained more than 25,000 people. So, and Erdogan has said that relations with the United States would suffer if Gulen was not extradited. The United States has said they will extradite Gulen if the evidence is credible. Alright, let's see what else. Ah, yes, our friends the Houthis, the Houthi rebels. Now, I've got to bring up another point here. And I didn't see this, I only saw one person discuss this, and the point wasn't made well. Flashback to Bo Bergdahl. Yeah, we trade 5 high-value Gitmo detainees for Bo Bergdahl. The Haqqani Network helped us negotiate for Bergdahl's release. The Haqqanis are the equivalent of the terrorist mafia. They don't do anything for free. I'd like to know how much the Haqqanis got. And from whom. Because I'm certain money changed hands for Bergdahl, too. It just wasn't as clear-cut, as obvious, and it probably wasn't $400 million. So, like I said, it's one of those I'd like to know. I have dug into it. It doesn't seem to be readily available. I'm going to keep digging. I will repeatedly check back for declassified CIA documents. I will repeatedly look in other off-the-books locations. So, I mean, I'm sorry, but and Brad Thor was the first person who floated the idea, and he said it wasn't just, and this is a man whose opinions I respect. He endorses the idea as not just plausible, but a likely conclusion, and this is buttressed by his extensive dealings with the Haqqani network. Some context. Prior to Bergdahl's release, Bergdahl was held by members of the Haqqani network and the Taliban, and the Haqqani network, which is a U.S. designated terrorist organization. Haqqani and the Taliban are not one and the same. The Haqqanis act more as a crime syndicate with radical Islamist agenda. They're 80% Tony Soprano and 20% Al-Qaeda. And that's quoting Brad Thor. So, Haqqani would be more interested in money than a prisoner hostage trade. Haqqanis didn't gain a thing in the prisoner hostage trade. And Fox News reported in December, before Bergdahl was released, that there was discussion of paying a ransom. So, I mean, I'm sorry, but I think the United States has paid ransom at least twice under this administration. White House, of course, says this was a traditional prisoner exchange, but this is contradicted by other reports, and I'm going to have to dig into this for Saturday Slowdown. That's all I can do at this point. So, I will get you an update as soon as I can gather all the facts. Alright, let's see what else is going on in the world. The opening ceremonies of the Olympics in Rio are tonight. Tune in, it's bound to be interesting. But the athletes face more than just challenges on the field. There are bacteria in waters, there are a number of things that could impact everyone. And I'm not just talking about their fellow competitors. The U.S. basketball team, both men's and women's, is staying on a cruise ship right near a Navy base. And the cruise ship reportedly has bulletproof walls. Good choice, guys, because I've heard descriptions of the Olympic Village as being uninhabitable. So, all right. One last audio clip, if I can get it to play. The U.S. government, the U.S. Navy specifically, will purportedly protect Filipino fishermen in the South China from Chinese harassment. Now, this is unconfirmed, but I think it bears taking a listen.
Philippines, the U.S. Navy has released a statement that they're willing to assist Filipino fishermen in the Panatag Shoal if Chinese Coast Guard ships harass them. A group of US naval warships are currently patrolling the West Philippine Sea. Heading the group is the U.S. aircraft carrier Ronald Reagan, which is currently conducting a security operation in the West Philippine Sea. Despite the improper remarks of President Duterte of accusing the United States of importing terrorism, the U.S. Navy remain firm that they would protect Filipino fishermen against the Chinese Coast Guard. The Filipinos are fishing on their territory as guaranteed by the United Nations, and if China harassed them, then China's Coast Guard ships are considered pirates, a U.S. sailor said. China slams the United States. Having already wound the populace up to fever pitch with a barrage of nationalist propaganda, China was expected to pull out the rhetorical big guns when it reacted to The Hague's decision on rights to the South China Sea. And it didn't disappoint. Barely 50 minutes after a tribunal at the Permanent Court of Arbitration, CA, in the Netherlands ruled that China had no claim to the valuable region, the People's Daily had published an editorial headlined, China Sea Arbitration, a U.S.-led conspiracy behind the farce. The editorial criticized the U.S. for 4 major wrongdoings: colluding with its allies to rubbish China, showing off its military force and putting pressure on China, playing China and Association of Southeast Asian Nations countries against one another, and manipulating the International Arbitration Tribunal. Adding to that, the U.S. had complicated the South China Sea issues into a dead knot, the People's Daily said. We do not claim an inch of land that does not belong to us, but we won't give up anything that is ours, Wu Chengliang, an editor at Communist Party-run newspaper, added. Jiang Li, a writer at state-runs Inha news agency, also suspected an international plot, in which the Philippines, which brought the case against China to The Hague, and the U.S. were in cahoots. The former Philippine government and the United States behind it have conspired for a long time to blackmail China regarding its historic rights to the South China Sea, but to do it through a tribunal that tramples on international justice goes too far, Jiang wrote.
All right, so we will protect Filipino fishermen based on the ruling from The Hague. Now, I got another little blip here for you. Promised I'd keep you up to date on Rio. I'll probably include the refugee medal count in my reports, but right now I got something I just thought was interesting. The U.S. has assigned more than 1,000 spies to protect the 2016 Olympics in Rio de Janeiro. Hundreds of law enforcement agents, analysts, and special operations personnel are in Rio, along with over a dozen commandos from the United States Special Operations Command. The abbreviation for United States Special Operations Command is USASOC, for those who are unaware. The report documents that an operation that includes all 17, yes, I said 17, U.S. intelligence agencies. Security efforts include working with Brazil to vet more than 10,000 athletes and 35,000 security and police personnel, watch over terrorist social media, and cooperate in securing computer networks. U.S. intelligence agencies are working closely with Brazilian intelligence officials to support their efforts to identify, disrupt potential threats to the Olympic Games in Rio. Richard Coco, spokesman for the National Intelligence Director James Clapper, told NBC News. All right, Brazilian police recently arrested 10 people suspected of planning an ISIS-inspired attack. However, Brazil's justice minister dismissed them as absolutely amateur. Thus far, there is no sign of a credible plot to attack the Olympic Games. However, I will add that ISIS has called for attacks during the game. All right, on that note, I'm